Welcome to Gaps and Gains. I'm Pieter de Villiers. In every episode, I take one thing that's quietly costing owner-managed businesses time, money or momentum and show you what's on the other side of fixing it. So short, practical, no fluff. Let's get into it. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the patchwork tax and why your disconnected systems are costing you more than you think. A Better Cloud report found that growing businesses are running 42 separate SaaS tools that barely speak to each other on average. And the hidden cost is undeniable. In this episode, we break down how fragmented systems silently drain revenue, kill productivity, and create the kind of customer experience that sends people straight to your competitors. I'll walk you through how the patchwork gets built, why integration alone isn't the answer, and the practical steps to finally get your business running as a coherent system. Back to that Better Cloud report. They found that on average, businesses under 200 employees run 42 SaaS applications, and organizational complexity drains an average of 7% of annual revenue. Yet most owners only track software cost by monthly subscription fees, missing the real financial hit entirely. How is it that trying to do the right thing by using the right tool for the job causes chaos and lost revenue? The underlying issue is context switching. Employees switch between applications and tasks hundreds of times per day and lose nearly 7 hours every week to fragmented processes, meaning a team of 10 is effectively losing the output of 2 full-time employees just to the patchwork tax. In Algorithms to Live By, Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths state that research shows it takes on average 17 minutes for someone focused on a task to regain that focus after an interruption. And every time you switch from one tool to the next, you're switching context and losing focus. To be clear, nobody builds a fragmented business on purpose. The patchwork grows a tool at a time, one problem at a time, until different departments are working from entirely different versions of reality with no shared language. This is also not something that exclusively ails larger businesses. In smaller business, it can often be worse because the nature of small business is that everyone's wearing multiple hats. That means more interruption and more context switching. Many businesses try to fix these disconnected systems with manual data entry, but each error in the data can cost tens or hundreds of pounds, depending on how deep into the business the mistake travels before it is spotted and corrected. The issue is compounded by the fact that customers will walk away from doing business with you due to a poor experience, making the spreadsheet workaround far more expensive than it looks. So, how do you get a handle on this and start filling in the cracks, costing you real revenue, profit, and customer loyalty? The bad news is that it is not as simple as just adding automations and integrations. If you do that, you risk simply streamlining and automating the spread of the mistakes already happening. A simple first step is to just audit what software your business is using. At a minimum, this will highlight where you are spending money on software and what it's doing. And you have to make sure that every piece of software is earning its keep. Businesses I work with often find they're paying for licenses not being used while also paying for multiple tools that largely do the same thing but not quite. So this audit should cover every aspect of your business. An easy way to track this down is just review your credit card or bank statement. Once you know what you're paying for, find out who's using it and what for. Every tool has to be justified. I'll give you an example from my own business. We're a small team, so it would be easy to think that we can't gain much from reviewing what we use. About 12 months ago, I started begrudging paying for a chat tool like Slack. I don't think we were using Slack at the time, but it was something like that. I spent an afternoon looking at alternatives and decided to go with Rocket Chat. It offers a self-hosted solution, which means it's running on a server in my office while still being accessed by everyone from their own locations. Now, to be honest, that server is a 2017 laptop running Linux, so nothing fancy or expensive. This means we get all the functionality we need, but we're not paying for anyone to give it to us. I've always hated paying for 100 features every month when my business only needs 16. So I'm not suggesting self-hosted solutions are for everyone, but for a lot of businesses, it's an overlooked option. So what do you do once you've done the audit to see where you are spending money on tools that you may not need? What you don't do is start cancelling subscriptions and changing the way you work. You see, the tools you use should always be in service of the experience you want your prospects and customers to have. I've seen countless businesses being run by the tools they chose to use rather than choosing the tools based on the business they want to run. The key is to clearly map out your prospect and customer journey whilst remaining completely agnostic to the tools you'll use to make that happen. Don't limit your customer experience based on your technical ability or the tools you know about. Once you have the prospect and customer journey for your business mapped out, you'll be in a much better position to make the right decisions about the tools you need and any help you might need with implementation. So to give you an idea of how to think about this is, imagine a duck on a lake. Now, it's a nice early spring morning. The lake is like a mirror, and the duck is just gliding across. And the duck gliding across is your customer's experience. But we all know that under the water, those little feet are paddling like mad to make it happen. And the key thing to remember is that your customer doesn't care about the feet. Nobody comes to take pictures of a duck's feet under the water, but everybody likes the nice spring morning photo with a duck on the water. So what you want to do is just get yourself a whiteboard and then draw a line which represents the water. And initially you're entirely focused on what's above the line. So map out not what you're using, not what's necessary, but map out what you want your prospects and customers want to experience. And once you have that mapped out, then you can go below the line and you're still not thinking about tools. You're just thinking about, okay, we need this thing to happen, therefore a task needs to be created at that point so that someone can do it without having to remember to do it. We need an email to go out, or we need a postcard or a letter to go in the post. So you work out, well, what needs to be there? Okay, there's a direct mail piece that needs to go out, therefore there's a task associated with that. And once you have what in some respects compared to the customer journey, when you've got the messy bit under the line sorted out, now you start looking at, okay, what tools do I need to make these things happen? And then you can narrow down on, well, actually, I can get, instead of using 5 tools, I can use these 2 new tools that make all these things happen for me, and that all has all the functionality. So that's how you want to think about working this through. If you want to have a quick assessment to see where you are suffering from the patchwork business, I'll leave a link in the show notes. The assessment is online, only takes about 5 minutes to complete. So you can go through that and get your report and see where you stand. So that's all from me for now. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll be back next week. I will be.